Hi guys, today we're going to go ahead and talk about how we divide functions by using synthetic division. But before we even get to that point, let's actually go back and review a little bit of what we did on prior days regarding how to factor higher degree polynomials by grouping. So we know how to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and start off here. But what's interesting is going to be that something actually happens here that does not allow us to finish this problem. So let's go ahead and group the first two, group the second two, just like we usually do. But we're going to go ahead and actually take out those factors that they have in common. And the first group of two, they have an x squared in common, so I'm going to pull that out. And I'm left with 3x plus 17. And the second group here, I have a negative 4 that they have in common. Okay, so that's negative 4 that I'm going to pull out. But I am left with 2x plus 3. Now, if you look at that, though, we're used to seeing these binomials inside of the parentheses. Usually they match. Unfortunately, these did not match. So what does that tell me? That means that not all higher degree polynomials can be factored. So we're going to have to take a different approach over here off to the right because what? What's the problem? Well, the problem is that the factors in each set of parentheses do not match. They just don't match. That's no good. Uh-oh. So what are we going to do? All right, well, there's this neat little thing called synthetic division, which basically does this. All it does, guys, is it takes a factor that we are giving you. We're providing you the fact that x plus 7, for example, in this scenario, x plus 7 is actually going to be a factor of this polynomial function here. Now, if I know that, then what I can actually do is I can actually go ahead and figure out what the remaining function would be. So essentially what's happening here, guys, is we're going to be dividing the bigger function f of x divided by g of x in order to see what's left over, which will be a brand new function, which we may then be able to factor even further. So the first thing you have to remember is, though, that in order to start these problems, you have to set the given factor equal to 0. Okay? So in other words, in this case, I have x plus 7 equals 0. So I did exactly what I was told right here. Okay? I set the given factor, which was x plus 7 right from over here. Okay? I set it equal to 0. Well, if I subtract 7 from both sides, I'm going to go ahead and get x equals negative 7. Okay? That's if I subtract 7 on both sides. So what am I going to do with that negative 7? Well, that's actually, that negative 7, I'm actually going to go ahead and call it my box number. Okay? That's just something I like to call it, guys. You don't have to call it that. But I'm going to refer to it as my box number. So make a little note of it so you know what I'm talking about as we go through this video. So that little box number here, I'm going to go ahead and highlight it in blue. That negative 7, I'm going to go ahead and actually write it right here. Negative 7. Okay? Now, the next thing is we're going to do this process called synthetic division. So what's going to happen here is what I want you to do is actually find all of the coefficients of the function f of x. So in this case, 1, 1, negative 34, and positive 56. I want you to write all of those right here. 1, 1, negative 34, and 56. Just leave a little space like that. Okay? Now what I want you guys to go ahead and do is draw a line down there for me. Okay, leave a little bit of space between the numbers, the coefficients, and that line. And what I want you guys to get used to doing is actually dropping down that first number right there. So I always like to draw an arrow right here. You don't have to draw the arrow, but just know that that's going to tell you to put that first number down there. Okay? So here's what's going to happen, and it's a little confusing at first, guys, but the more you do it, I promise you it'll make a lot more sense. So what you're going to have to do here is actually do this. You're going to have to multiply negative 7 times 1. You're going to multiply these right here. Okay? Multiply them. Once you multiply, then I get negative 7. I'm going to put that negative 7 right here. Okay? So I put that negative 7 here, and then now I'm noticing that there's two numbers here in this column. Well, to find out what that number that goes down here is going to be, I have to add these two numbers. Okay? 1 plus negative 7, that's going to give me negative 6. And then the process just keeps repeating, guys. So once more, let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and multiply that negative 7 times negative 6. So the box number times that bottom number. That's going to give me a positive 42, and that positive 42 I'm going to put right here. Well, now I add my column, negative 34 plus 42. Remember, you are adding these. Okay? That's going to give you 8. So that's going to bring you an 8 right down here. And then we keep repeating the process, guys. So one last time, is, that we're right here is we're going to multiply this times this. Negative 7 times 8 is going to give me negative 56. And then right here, I usually put a little box here, okay? Because that little box is going to tell you if you have a remainder or not. And the way we figure out if we have a remainder or not is if we go ahead and add these two. And if you notice, they actually cancel out and give me 0. So I actually like that I have a remainder of 0. That makes me happy. And it's going to make you guys happy too, because it can get a little more confusing if we don't get a 0. So here's what's going to happen, guys. So you might be thinking, okay, what the heck did I just do? Well, what we did, we just figured out the coefficients of a brand new function, okay? We just figured out new coefficients here that will create a brand new function. And that function is going to be 1, the one from right here, x squared, minus 6, the negative 6 from right here, then x, and then plus 8 from right here, okay? This happens each and every time, and we're actually going to stop there for now. We're not going to go any further than that, all right? But basically what happens, guys, is we started with something with a degree of 3, okay? And what we did was divided it by something of degree of 1. See, this is 3, this is 1. So if I divide those exponents, what's going to happen is I'm only going to get, well, 3 minus 1 is going to give me a 2. That's where that 2 comes from. Ooh, I don't like that color. Let me use a different color here. 2 right there, okay? And yes, it is a little confusing, guys, but like I said, the more we practice with synthetic division, the easier it gets. So let's go ahead and try one more, and then I'm going to let you guys try one on your own, okay? But remember, the first thing you have to do, like on problem number 2, is you have to set this g of x equal to 0 so we know what our box number is. I'm going to do that. X minus 2 equals 0. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides. I'm going to get x equals 2. So that is my box number. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite that number right here. That's where that box number is coming from. Okay? And the next thing we did was we found out all the coefficients of the function f of x, and we're going to go ahead and write them down. 1, 1, negative 10, and 8. And we'll draw a line here. What I always like to do, and it's almost like not a rhyme for me, but I literally say it every single time. I say, drop the first, box the last. Okay? So I'm going to drop the first number, and I'm going to put a box on the last number, because from that box means you have you're going to have a remainder. And hopefully we don't, but in case we do, that's where we would place it. So here's what we're going to do. Let's go ahead and do it. Remember, guys, you're going to multiply. Whoops, erased a little too much. I'm going to multiply box number times the bottom number. So that's going to give me 2 times 1 is 2. So I'm going to place the 2 right there. And then remember, you're going to add these 2 to get the 3 right there. Okay? So we repeat the process. Now, 2 times 3, remember 2 times 3. Well, 2 times 3 is going to give me 6. Now I add my column. That gives me a negative 4 down there. And one last time, 2 times negative 4 is going to give me a negative 8. And look at that, guys. 8 plus negative 8 is going to give me 0. So once again, I am happy that I did not get a remainder. So good. So as I said earlier, guys, what's going to happen here is these are new coefficients, okay? These are coefficients for a new function, which is 1 from right here, okay? X squared plus 3, again, the 3 from here, the next, and then finally that negative 4 is going to be our constant, so minus 4, and that's from here, okay? So the whole function is going to be 1x squared plus 3x minus 4, okay? And that's our final answer, guys. For now, all we are doing is using synthetic division to divide the function f of x by the function g of x. Later on, when we show you guys a little bit more, what's going to happen is we're going to be able to factor that in order to find what we call the real zeros. But we'll get to that a little bit later. What I want you guys to go ahead and do is actually pause the video for a moment. I want you guys to go ahead and try number 3 on your own, completely on your own. And then I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the answer once you guys are done. Okay, so go ahead and take a moment to pause the video at this time. Okay, guys, so here it is. Here is the final answer that I got for this next problem. I got 1x squared plus 2x minus 3 after I did my division of f of x divided by g of x. Now, how did I get there? Well, once again, let's go ahead and talk about that, guys. So here we go. We are dividing g of x, so g of x has to be set equal to 0. So I did that, and I got x equals -5, which ended up turning into my box number. After that, I went ahead and found all my coefficients for my f of x function, and I wrote them down. And then remember, guys, we dropped the first box to last, so I dropped my first number, which was a 1, okay, which I actually placed right here, okay, and I did -5 times 1 gave me -5, added the column, so 7 plus -5 gives me 2. Then I did it one more time, -5 times 2 gives me -10, oops, and then I add 7 plus -10, which gives me -3. And then finally, one more time, -5 times -3 gives me +15. Okay? And then finally, we combine these two to get me a 0. Okay? Good job, guys. Hopefully, you guys got the same thing. And again, remember, these right here, 1, 2, and -3 are just the coefficients for a brand new function that has 1 degree less than the original up here. So instead of 3, it's going to be a degree of 2. Okay? I'm going to actually go ahead and skip number 4 for a bit. I'm going to let you guys go ahead and try that one out on your own. What I'd like to do is actually go ahead and take a look at number 5 because something interesting happens here. So we're going to do number 5 and number 6 together, guys. So check it out. This one, same instructions. So we have f of x is 2x cubed minus 26x squared plus 80x minus 70. And then g of x is x minus 9. So it says find f of x divided by g of x. So if g of x is a factor of f of x. And what we're doing here, is we're going to go ahead and divide these out. But we need to set g of x equal to 0 before I even start anything. So x minus 9, x minus 9 equals 0. So my box number is going to be a 9. I'm going to drop my coefficients. So 2, -6, let's see. Yeah, -6, positive 80, sorry, I almost wrote negative, positive 80, and -70. So we're going to go ahead and do our process. Drop the first, box the last. Okay, drop the first number, box the last number. So here's what we get. We're going to go ahead and multiply 9 times 2. So again, 9 times 2. That gives us 18. -26 plus 18. So I'm adding these two. That's going to give me a -8. Okay, 9 times -8 is -72. I'm going to add 80 plus -72. That's going to give me a 8. Okay, and then finally what's going to happen is 9 times 8 is going to give me 72. Now watch what happens here though, guys, when I try to combine these two. What ends up happening is I actually get a remainder. I'm going to get a remainder here. I don't have a nice little smiley face anymore. Okay, not going to work out. What I'm going to get here is actually, if I add it all up, that's going to be a 2. So that's no good. We don't know really what to do with remainders. So here's what I do know, though. I know how to handle this. Okay, I know how to handle this. I know that I have to write 2x squared minus 8x plus 9. Oh, sorry, plus 8. Okay, that's from this. Now, what the heck do I do with that remainder of 2, guys? Well, here's what you got to do. This number of 2 is a positive 2, so I'm going to write plus 2. And what happens, guys, is actually back when you guys would do division in elementary school, you guys would have to leave sometimes a remainder. And then something similar is going to happen right here exactly in the same way. So here we have to leave a remainder, or we have to leave like Okay, well, what is that fraction? Well, it's going to be 2 over something. And that something is whatever we were dividing by. And if you guys look closely, we were dividing by g of x. So g of x is x minus 9. So what happens here, guys, is you have to place an x minus 9 right down there. This is how you represent a remainder when we're dividing out polynomial functions. So I have a little note here that I want to make. Remember to always put the remainder over the given factor. And in this case, the given factor was, that is the given factor of f of x. So the given factor is g of x in this case. Okay, and what was g of x? Well, like we said earlier, g of x is x minus 9. Okay, again, guys, it does get a little trickier, but as I always say, the more practice we do with this, the better it's going to get. So let me do one last one, guys, and then we're gonna go ahead and finish off the video here. So let's go ahead and try the next one. Same thing. We are going to divide these functions. All right. So what I'm going to do is set my g of x equal to 0. So x minus 7 equals 0. Add 7, add 7. You get x equals 7. So that's my box number over here. Go ahead and drop my coefficients so I can do my synthetic division. So that's 1, negative 6, negative 3, and negative 37. All right. If you want to go ahead and actually pause the video right now, guys, to test yourself to see if you actually know how to do it, go ahead and pause the video right now and then come back to the video so I can show you guys the actual answer. But for now, if in case you want to just work through it, all right, let's go ahead and actually try it out. But I highly suggest you pause the video at the moment so you can check to see if you're on the right track, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and finish this problem. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to drop the first, box the last, exactly as I always do. So I'm going to go ahead and do 7 times 1, that is 7. Add the column, so negative 6 plus 7 is 1. 7 times 1 again is going to be 7. Negative 3 plus 7 is 4. And finally, 7 times 4, okay, that's 28. And that's no bueno. I don't like this. I don't like the fact that I have a remainder, but we have one, so we got to work with it. The remainder here was negative 9. Okay, so as I've always stated, we know what to do with this. We're going to get 1x squared plus 1x plus 4. Again, that's where these come from. This, and this are right here. Okay? But this part right here, we got to work with that. So I'm going to go ahead and attach a minus 9. But remember, guys, it's minus 9 is a remainder. So you got to go ahead and talk about what you divided it by in the first place. And if you look closely, we divided by g of x again. So this is what we have to put the remainder over. Okay? Negative 9 over x minus 7. Again, x minus 7 comes from here, and then the negative 9 comes from here. That's where all of this comes from, guys. So don't forget that we might have remainders at some point. Okay? I think for now, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. Go ahead and attempt a little bit of the practice problems from the homework. But other than that, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys on a different video how we continue working with this process of synthetic division. All right, guys, have a good one.